Oh, mature curtain lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Oh, mature curtain lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it. Oh, mature curtain lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Oh, mature curtain lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
Hey everybody, it's Goose with On With The Show. How we doing today? On a beautiful Friday. We are on approach to Memorial Day weekend where a lot of the big movies you're going to be seeing coming out for the summer. I did a great show yesterday. I did do a great show yesterday, didn't I? Yeah. I did a show yesterday on all the blockbuster, some of the blockbuster movies that are coming out this summer, and some movies that are flying under the radar. Let's talk about though, before we get into some of the movies that I've been watching and can talk about today, because I wasn't on last week. We had some technical difficulties, so I'm going to be talking about not just Solo but Deadpool 2 as we as we go into the show. And what do you?
I'm asking if I can.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I want to talk about the first one, which is the Black Panther. Remember?
Okay. Well, when we get to Black Panther, we'll talk about it. Okay. So right now, but before we get moving, there are some things that have happened in the entertainment industry in the last 24 hours. I've got to talk about. Let's start with Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein today turned himself in to the first precinct in New York for rape, sexual abuse, and other sexual allegations that have been made against him. Of course, they paraded him through handcuffed, arms behind his back in front of the paparazzi, so everybody can get a great picture of his ugly mug. But I've been waiting and wondering when this was going to happen. I've been, they've been investigating for months. This has been a little over, I think, about a year since they started this, since the allegations came out, and some of the horrible things. We now have over 100 women who have come forward and have said that he has just been sexually inappropriate with them, and obviously, I guess his thing is he gets unrobed and he asks for a massage. I don't understand this. I mean, first of all, Randy and Lionel and I were talking about this yesterday on the leadoff. I mean, if he wants a massage, come to Bakersfield. Just because they busted 13 massage parlors here for prostitution. So, dude, you just come to Bakersfield and gotten your massage, and you wouldn't be in so much trouble. Okay, you just have to pay for it. I think this guy is disgusting. He used his power over women, especially young actresses, because here's a guy who was in power, and he basically used it so that he could get what he wanted, so that he could, in promise of promoting their careers, and I just think that's just disgusting. I don't know how he got away with it for so long. But I'm sure that a lot. People knew, and I guess they just didn't bother to come forward because he was a guy who basically could control people's careers. I'm just wondering, and again, I'm a dumb guy. I just kind of wonder why it took so long, but I'm glad it finally did. just so that, and of course they keep saying that, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, of course you're going to say you didn't do anything wrong, you moron. You're going to want to protect yourself as much as you want, because you want to protect your empire, because you know that you're going to get sued. You're going to get sued, and you're going to lose a lot of the money you've have all these years. You've been all this time. But even sadder, and what I heard yesterday, Morgan Freeman is now being accused by 8 women of being sexually inappropriate, and I've heard some of the allegations. I think to tell you truthfully, I think Morgan Freeman got himself caught up with the fact that he's a big flirt, and he probably said some things he shouldn't have. He made some He made some women uncomfortable with what he said, and I think that's sad. I think the guy, he's 80 years old. He's and I know guys who are up there in their 70s and 80s. They say a lot of inappropriate things. They're like the dirty grandpa, the dirty uncle you have that you kind of put him in a corner during the family reunions, because he's going to say something really wrong, really bad. And the sad part is that these guys are so old they can kind of get away with this crap. With family, but I think when you're in the workplace, and I think that's where this happened, whereas Morgan Freeman was doing interviews, he was in the workplace, and he was saying this stuff. First of all, that's sexual harassment, and that's just stuff that you cannot be tolerated, especially in the workplace. It shouldn't be tolerated anywhere. But he's an old guy, and I think he was just trying to be cute and funny and flirty and all this, and he just was being dumb. And it's really sad that someone who's played God, someone who voiced March the Penguins, look at the monarch penguin as it walks through the snow. Just a lot. A guy who's played, he got his Oscar with he watched Driving Miss Daisy, which I recently did. On one of the premium channels. You see him now, and now you're going to be reminded of this new allegations, this sexual allegations. The Me Too movement is moving right along, and it looks like they're just going to be taking whoever ends up in their path. But moving right along, now that I've made these comments and gotten this out of the way, let's talk about the new movie that opened today. I got the chance to see it last night. That's Solo. And again, this is the story, the backstory of Han Solo, before we met him in the cantina, and we got to see what kind of guy he is and what his story was like. And I know a lot of people, this movie's been a buzz because they fired the first set of directors. I think the guys who did the Hollywood, the Hot Tub Time Machine, and a few other things, and it looked like it was going to be like a little a comedy. And I guess the studios didn't like it, the producers didn't like it, so they fired them, bring in Ron Howard. Ron Howard, I guess, used some of the footage that they'd already shot. Tried to fix the film. Ron, like I said yesterday, Ron Howard's in my top 10 of greatest directors ever. He's one of my favorite. He's done some of my favorite films, and so I was expecting this to kind of be a bit of a hot mess. I'm glad to tell you it's not. It's a pretty good film. Is it the best Star Wars film ever? No. I would give it a grade of a B, because there are some spots where it's slow, but you get to find out how Han grew up, how he became a pilot, how he met Lando, some of the things that happened. And there's even, I'm not going to give this away, but there is a character that they brought back for this film. It's just a little bit of a cameo, but it was a big shock to me when I saw it. The great thing about this film is I can kind of compare it to a Western, because if you think about it, Han Solo is the cowboy of the group. He's not a Jedi. He doesn't use the Force, although there's a film theory that he has the Force. I actually think that too. I think he has some of the Force and doesn't realize it. But he's the cowboy of the group, and you can definitely see that in this film. It's like a Western. It's a train robbery, and they're stealing stuff, and they're trying to escape all of these, the authorities, and it's really good. There are some times where it's slow at parts. There is a love story in it that, I won't say is unnecessary. It is necessary to the plot, but it's just kind of obvious to me that that this little romance thing was kind of forced, mostly because we know what happens with Han Solo during the first three films. And we know his relationship with Princess Leia basically will develop. So we know that this romance isn't going to happen. So I was kind of surprised that they tried to force this, or at least make it seem like it's so. But it's a good film. It's worth the money to go see. Go check it out this weekend. Solo again opens today, and I think you'll enjoy it. Again, I wasn't here last week. Well, we couldn't go live last week. I was here. We couldn't go live because we had some technical difficulties. But I wanted to tell you because I saw Deadpool 2. Took my two sons to the Maya. We actually sat down right next to Deadpool because Deadpool was sitting right next to us. And we both loved it. What did you think? What did you think, Tyler?
Well, that's a little too loud. Well, basically, to me, Deadpool is literally not afraid to share his personal opinion. Kind of like somebody I know. And overall, the movie was really, really good. And I recommend you should see it.
Yeah, I recommend you should see it too. Is it as good as the first one? No, it's a sequel. It's not as good as the first one. Mostly because we know what to expect in this film. But this is a really good. It brings in a couple new characters. It brings in Domino, which I'd never heard of before. Now I do. It brings in Cable, and I like the interesting part about this film is that Deadpool references not just other Marvel characters. I mean, oh my gosh, he goes. He not only mentions other Marvel characters, he also goes into the DC universe. And even goes into that, and I mean that is absolutely crazy how he does, and he just riffs off one thing after another, and it's nonstop. And if you're smart enough to kind of catch the references and the jokes. It's a really entertaining film. It's a really good action comedy. That now again, this is also a film I wouldn't bring little kids to. What do you think, Tyler? Would you bring a little kid to this film?
Absolutely not.
No, absolutely not. We were talking about it again. We were talking about it yesterday with. I was talking about it yesterday with Randy and Lionel on the lead off, and Randy wasn't too impressed with it. Again, it's not as good as the original. It was funny. There were some things that were kind of forced. But I think that's something you have to kind of expect with a sequel. You're going to see some things that are forced. But the biggest body count I think happened within the first 5 minutes of the film.
Oh my gosh! It was like
yeah, he was.
It was like it was both funny and cruel.
Funny and cruel, which is kind of crazy. But that's what you have to expect with a Deadpool film. I don't know. I personally have a theory. I think they're going to bring Deadpool in briefly, very briefly. I think he's going to have like a cameo probably in the next Avengers film. I don't know that for sure. But I do know that they're working on Deadpool. They're going to be working on Deadpool 3. They brought in Juggernaut, and this guy was every bit as intimidating. With a great fight with Colossus if you haven't seen it yet, and of course it kind of brings in the theory that Colossus, who is this great upstanding Boy Scout type guy, has to play dirty to fight Juggernaut. Of course, that's with Juggernaut, he's basically unstoppable. So I guess that's what Colossus had to do to defeat him. And of course, you see Yuki, and you see Megasonic Teenage Warhead, who is not in, and sadly enough, I think Megasonic Teenage Warhead, she's not in this film as much as I'd like. I wish she was in this film because her comedy in the first one really made it happen, especially with Deadpool. But there wasn't as much there as there really should. And there are some great examples of how Deadpool just cannot die. He cannot die. And I think you just sit there and You know,
How?
wow. Dude just kind of, you know, some great cameos in this film. I'm not going to spoil everything for you. You've got to go see this film. It is well worth the money, and this is the perfect weekend to do it. I mean, if you're going to have 3 or 4 days off, find a time when you can go see this movie. Deadpool 2 is a great film.
During
Memorial Weekend. Yeah. I see that I'm running a little late for a break. We're going to take it now. When we come back, Black Panther is out at the Red Box. I'm going to tell you about it. Plus a couple of films. An independent film I saw on the one of the premium channels. A couple of Netflix things that you should check out, and one, like I said, 13 Reasons Why You Should Not See 13 Reasons Why Season 2. We will be right back after this. I am Goose Scott with On With The Show.
I choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
If the best criminal attorneys choose Patriot Bail Bonds, who would you choose?
Patriot Bail Bonds. We fight for your freedom.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, at the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license does not go into suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
And we're back. This is On With The Show with Goose Scott. We are brought to you by our great sponsors, Patriot Bail Bonds. If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail. Great people there. I really, really appreciate them bringing me on doing this show. Now, like I said, Black Panther opened earlier this year, and I'm one of the fools that didn't get a chance to see it in the movie theater. Why? Not for lack of trying, but because every time I had a chance to go see it, I couldn't, I couldn't. Something would happen, and which is a naughty thing on me. I really wish I had seen it, but I did get a chance to go to the Red Box and rent it out this week, and I got a chance to see it. Very good film, very impressive film. And there's on the DVD there is an intro by the director, whose name escapes me right now. It happens. It happens to everybody. It happens. See this gray hair? When you get older, sometimes things are, they're gone. Okay, so anyway. Bye-bye. So anyway, but he made a mention that he wanted to do a film. He wanted to do a superhero film based on people like him. And I understood that. And so they talk about, how Wakanda got the vibranium. And then it starts out with a really interesting scene that starts out in Oakland in 1992, and we get to see some of the backstory, and that pretty much drives the film. We really don't need an origin story of Black Panther because we saw it already. I think with Avengers 2, Age of Ultron. So we get a chance to see so we get a chance to see how Black Panther kind of moves from that incident into becoming the king of Wakanda, and the only thing about Black Panther I did have a problem with, and it is probably something minor, because we do know the vibranium is, as the movie says, is from a meteor that comes from the sky and lands in Africa, and Wakanda gets it, and it affects everything around them, and they became this culture that became very technologically advanced, much farther and sooner than anybody else had. And I kind of I'm watching some of the ships that they use to fly around in, and they use for weapons, and I'm like, oh my God, it almost looks like they got, aliens came down and gave them the software to help them build all these ships. It's like a conspiracy theory that the aliens came down and helped Wakanda build all these ships. But overall, it was a really, really good story. It kind of reminds me of some Greek tragedy stories where where a fallen son has come back to claim the throne away from the king that has wrongfully taken it. Only in this story, the king is the guy you want. Black Panther is the guy that you want on the throne, and I like the thought of somebody like Warmonger, who was able to defeat Black Panther in the beginning, and what I like about people are going to be yelling at me because I cannot remember the character's name other than Black Panther. But what I like about it is the fact that he not only uses his physicality, but he uses his brain, he uses his head, and I like cerebral. I like cerebral heroes. Now, I will tell you, even though Black Panther made a bunch of money, and some people are calling it the best superhero film ever, I strongly disagree. I still believe Wonder Woman is the best superhero film made. Not because I'm a super DC guy, and I love Wonder Woman, but because I believe the story is better. We get to see her origin story. I love this film, though. It's an A+. But is it the best superhero film ever? No. If you want to comment on that, if you want to say, Goose, you're full of crap, Black Panther rules, go ahead and leave a comment below. Go ahead. Because I respectfully, it's a great film. It's better than most I've seen. It's just not the best. But it's a really good film. Go out and get it from your local red box. You'll like it. There was a film, I saw a trailer for this film last year, and I didn't get a chance to see it. It's an indie film called Kicks. Now, Kicks, and I got a chance to see it on one of my premium movie channels. I saw it. I put a little thing on so that I would be able to see it. If I missed it, I was going to record it. And this is a really, really good independent film. And it's basically what I would call an urban coming-of-age story. And it's based out in Oakland, California. And it's about an African-American male. I would say he's probably in high school, probably like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And he's shorter than everybody else. He's not as athletic as everybody else, and he's not as rich as everybody else. And so it basically, he goes on this journey. And what happens is that he buys a pair of Air Jordans that he just he gets them. Well, first of all, he gets them out of the back of a van. So I don't even know how. Where they come from, but which is not uncommon. Trust me. I mean, I've even here in Bakersfield, I've had people knock on my door. I got meat in the back of my van. If you want them, no, that's okay. I don't want any meat out of the back.
I do not want your meat out of the back of your van mainly because it's disgusting.
But he buys these shoes from the street vendor. I guess that's what you can call him, and he wears them proudly, and he loves them. And so on his way home, he runs into one of the local gangs, and they beat the snot out of him and take his shoes, and he can become so incensed that he just believes he has to go back and get his shoes back from this thug. Now, and what he finds out in this journey is that he may be the smallest guy, he may be the short, he may not be able to get all the girls, but you know what? He finds out that in this journey that he's as big as he can be, and he's as handsome as he can be, and some of the girls do want to be with him, and it's an eye-opening thing to him. But along the way, as with a lot of coming-of-age stories, he realizes that, you know, there are certain things that he just takes for granted. And I think this is a really good film. If you have a chance to see it, it's a great great cast. Mahershala Ali, who just recently got the Oscar for Moonlight. He's in this film. He does a, you know, and I hope I said his name right. If, you know, again, if I said it wrong, you people can just rant on the comments below. No, that's not how you pronounce his name, but that's basically the best way I can pronounce his name. It's a really good film. I think you'll really like it. There is some graphic violence in this, so it's not for everybody.
Kids.
Not for kids, especially not for kids. But it's not for everybody. But it's a really good independent film. I think you'll like it. Now let's go on to a couple of Netflix shows. Now let me give you the one that I really like, and again, you're going to find out I love crime shows. I love crime. I love true crime. And this is a 4-part docu-series called Evil Genius. Now, if you don't know anything about Evil Genius, this is based on the Collar bombing, bank robbery back in the mid-2000s. And basically the story is about, this guy goes into a bank, he's got a collar bomb around his neck, and he demands money. And he kind of walks out, and he's giving these notes, and the cops show up, and they arrest him, and he has this huge collar bomb on him, and nobody knows what to do. They're trying to get the bomb squad out there. And this guy's screaming, "Somebody help me! Somebody get this thing off of me!" And unfortunately, the bomb goes off, and he dies. And it's kind of graphic because they actually show what happens. I mean, I didn't see it. I put my hand up because I didn't want to see it. I mean, I just. But this is one of the most tragic and yet puzzling crimes that ever happens. And yet they spend 4 50-minute episodes on this crime and what happened to this poor guy, and realize that this woman, Marjorie Deal, and her boyfriend set this guy up, to basically go rob a bank for him and their crew, and and along the way you could really tell. What's interesting about Marjorie Deal is you can kind of tell that she's half crazy, and not full crazy, and she from jail even says why all this stuff, and I don't. But you find out a lot of details about her. How she was actually a very beautiful woman. She was very smart, graduated with honors, and how just somewhere along the way something just kind of flipped with her, and she became this crazy lady. And it's very interesting because they go into detail about all the different aspects and all the different people that are involved, and how this guy, and let me just tell you something, even though years later there were people who were saying that this poor guy was in on it, this pizza delivery guy was in on it, they come to find out later, no, he wasn't in on it, that he was absolutely a patsy. And it's really, really sad what happened, but everything finally come full circle. And even though they couldn't get everybody involved with this crime, it's a great docuseries to find out, how this all happened and how it all these years later, how even then they're still finding new evidence for this crime. It is absolutely crazy. Now, let's talk about 13 Reasons Why Season 2. And why you should not see this show. First of all, let me just say there are some things about 13 Reasons Why I liked about 13 Reasons Why Season 1. I only saw the first episode of Season 2. But here's something. First of all, I like the editing. The editing of the show is top notch. I like some of the acting. Some of the actors are really good in playing off their emotions. And I liked some of the camera shots that were chosen. The cinematographer and the director did a great job with some of the camera work in this show. The problem I have with 13 Reasons Why, both Season 1 and now Season 2, is the fact that you're trying to make somebody. You have a girl who committed suicide because of bullying and all the things that have happened to her, and now she's getting even by giving these tapes out to everybody to tell them why you did this to me. Okay. I don't know. I mean, for me, it just seems like, and not only that, the characters you have in this show are all, and you would agree with me, they're all stereotypes.
Yeah, they are.
They're all stereotypes. I was watching this with both, not only just you, but my other kid, and they're all like, oh yeah, that's the rich kid. That's the guy who can say, oh yeah, that's the smart Asian girl who's, oh, that's the lesbian, that's the gay guy. Okay, what's this one?
You can literally tell who is who.
Yeah, you can tell. And what makes it even funnier is that you know who was on the tapes because you see them in the show. Okay, there's no big reveal. Everybody in the very first episode you see is on the tapes, and then you have people who would not normally hang out together because of the tapes. Okay. Now I understand. Now let me say, I don't know. I don't. For me, writing's critical. Writing's got to be good. There are times when the writing's really good, but overall, I got a feeling that they just threw this poor thing together, and they didn't bother to really take the time to really make it fit. Make
the puzzle pieces fit perfectly together.
Now, I get what the point of the show is. It's about, and it talks about some really serious stuff: teen suicide, school bullying, sexual assault, all big things that should be talked about, should be discussed. And I wrote this in a blog last year about the show that but you're trying to make the most sympathetic character. You make the most sympathetic character to be the meanest character, because now she's the bully. Now let me just put this out there. I've been bullied, and I've been the bully. I think everybody's like that. I think everybody's been the bully, and I think everybody's been bullied. Okay? I think that's just a not...
I've been bullied a lot, especially in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
It was not fun. And it's not fun for anybody. And the crazy part about it, first of all, I mean, and I think the other problem I had with it was that they were 50 minutes long. A lot of the time, the stuff dragged out. You're seeing all of this stuff go on, and it really didn't talk about the purpose of the show until episode 8. Okay. So there was at one point where I was like, why am I watching this? Because nothing is progressing, nothing is moving.
I had the same thing. Same
thing. And I understand there are a lot of people who love this show. I don't understand why, but I understand.
Pun.
But I'm not one of them. I'm not one of the people who liked this show. Again, the cinematography was really good, shot selection was good, editing was really good, some of the acting was really good. But I have to go back to some of the acting. Some of the acting was way over the top. Unbelievable over the top acting that was just like,
whoa.
I was like, oh my god,
what's happening?
What's happening? So let's at the end of season 1, the tapes are revealed. The tapes are given to the principal, and they're given to her parents, and everybody now knows. And Bryce confesses to raping her, and we think, okay, great, everything seems to be coming together. And one of the guys, I can't remember, what his character's name.
Now I don't care what his name is.
You don't care what his name is, but he shoots himself in the head. He's going off to the hospital. Okay, great. Fast forward to season 2, and now the trial is starting, and everybody's like, oh my God, I've been subpoenaed to go testify. Of course you've been subpoenaed to testify, because you're on the tapes. Duh. You're on the tapes. Why would you not be subpoenaed to testify? And then of course they're talking about, well, why is so and so not? Why is Bryce not being arrested? He confessed to rape. Well, it's his word against hers. No, dude confessed on tape. You're a stupid bad lawyer if you cannot get those introduced. I'm sorry. I'm sitting there watching. No, I understand the season 2 is a little more interesting because you see it from the perspective of none of the people on the tapes. They're testifying and they're talking about what's going on the tapes. Okay. But now the other thing is now gone from tapes, cassette tapes, which very few people use, to Polaroids. Yes, let's use something else nobody uses. Polaroids.
A Polaroid.
Polaroid picture that you got to. You got to. Nobody uses Polaroids. And if you are using Polaroid, first of all, if someone's using a Polaroid, people are going to see it. Okay. Okay, people are going to see the picture. I don't understand this. I get the feeling that the writers just thought. First of all, I get the feeling that they didn't think they'd be able to do season 2. They wouldn't get to a season 2 because everything would be finalized in season 1. Oh, and get this: the dude that shot himself in the head
is alive,
survived, and he's alive. And nothing, and he has no brain damage whatsoever. The bullet went through his head, but he has no brain damage whatsoever, other than he can't remember
what happened.
He can't remember what happened or his suicide note.
Which makes no sense.
It makes no sense. I'm sorry. I'm beginning to think that and the dude Bryce who raped Hannah is not back at school and nothing's happened to him. And the girl he raped, he just passed it off as that just she wanted it and that she's a slut and blah blah blah. I'm sorry. I just talked about Harvey Weinstein and Morgan Freeman, and you're going to sit there and tell me, in the age of the Me Too movement, that there aren't 8, 10, 12 other girls out there that said, yes, he raped me too? Or are they just going to keep their mouths shut? I'm sorry, I don't understand this. I'm sorry, I don't understand this. And I know some of you are out there saying, of course you're not going to understand this because you're a guy. I get it. I get it. But in the Me Too movement, and all that's going on, and you're going to talk about sexual assault, that none of these girls are going to step forward because, he's rich. He's popular. I'm scared that they're going to turn on me.
That's just basically saying I'm scared.
I'm scared. I understand you're scared. I understand you're scared, but the dude, it's in a small town. First of all, it's in a small town. Everybody knows. Everybody knows. Okay. So don't sit there and say that, he confessed on tape. He confessed on tape. It's at the last episode of season 1. I'm beginning to feel like the writers did not take the time to really sit down and work this out. Okay? And I can hear my writing professor, Valerie Mayhew, who wrote for the X-Files and wrote for The Fugitive and wrote for Charmed, who is sitting there going, you need to do your research.
Yeah, before you start doing a video or like a song or some other form of media,
anything.
You need to do research first.
Anything. Now, don't get me wrong. When I was watching the first episode of season 2, it drew me in because I got to see it from the perspective of something else. Again, the acting is over the top. I think I've taken way too much time on 13 Reasons Why season 2. This show. And not only that, what I also heard was, I was watching Megyn Kelly, and apparently I guess there's a big controversy because at the end of this season, someone gets a snot beat out of them. There's a huge physical beating of somebody, and it's very graphic. And that goes along with even the really graphic scene of her cutting her wrist.
I remember. Okay, let me tell you this.
Gosh.
Let me tell you this. When I first saw the wrist scene, it was I got so sick that I got queasy at the same time, and I had to put my hand in front of the screen and look down.
Right.
It was just too damn
There's
disgusting.
no reason. I mean, I'm sorry. There's no reason. I understand you want the shock value. There's no reason for it. There is no reason for it. We know what's going to happen when she fills the tub full of water and she gets the razor blade out. We know what's going to. We don't need to see it. We just don't.
We do not need to see it.
Okay. I commend the producers for wanting to do something that talk about some real serious subjects. Yes, high school bullying, sexual assault, and
a few other things that do not
I'm sorry, child, I lost my train of thought. High school bullying, sexual assault, and teen suicide are serious business. Yes, they need to be addressed. Unfortunately, this show, I think, is just not written well. It's not written well, and I think that it is basically it's pandering to those who just don't do their work. Okay, for those, I mean, if you're a fan of the show, go ahead and watch it. But I think the writing is just that bad. All right. I'm sorry. I've taken too much time on this. We need to wrap this up. There are some theater shows happening this weekend that I think you need to go check out. Stars Theater is opening Pippin, which I think sounds like it's going to be a pretty good show. I mean, Pippin's one of the best productions ever put out. Dreamgirls is still playing at the Ovation Theater, so go check that out. Anytime you get a musical, that is something you really need to really go check out. That Thing Called Love is playing at the Visalia Players in Visalia. So if you're checking out my show in Visalia down there, go check them out. Go watch their show. Much Ado About Nothing is playing at the Ford Chapter Theater. And any Shakespeare, I believe it's done by one of the Shakespeare festivals that are chapters. One of the best Shakespeare comedies ever put out. This is a really good. If you got a chance, go see. And I recommend anybody who has a chance to see live Shakespeare theater, go see it. And wrapping up, closing this week, tonight and tomorrow at 8 o'clock, is the Bakersfield Community Theater's 31st annual One Act Festival. This is put on by local writers, local directors, local actors. I've been a part of this in the past. I love doing the One Act Festival, and it's, I think, one of the few theaters that continues to put out an annual One Act Festival every year. Go check them out again. They close tonight and tomorrow, at 8 o'clock. Go check them out before they close up. My friends, again, I want to thank my producer, Tyler. Hey. I want to thank Blue Sky Media, Bakersfield Music Hall of Fame, and Kerncast, and again a shout out to my sponsors, Patriot Bail Bonds. If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail. All right, we will be back next week with another set of films and TV shows. I'll talk to you about. Until then, go out and catch a show.
Bye.
Bye.
Overture, cut the lights. This is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every card by heart. Overture, cut the lights. This is it, we'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.